Hello, crafting buddies. It's Late Night Lori. Late again. I'm coming to you at 11:40 p.m. Wisconsin time on Wednesday, August 13th. Sorry I'm late, but I was putzing around with planning my card for tonight. So I didn't want to do more of exactly the same thing that I did the last couple of nights, but I'm going to use this Stay Warm stamp set again. Now, I'll remind you, there's no dies. So yes, there is a little bit of fussy cutting involved, but it'll be quick, I hope. And I'm going to meld a couple of things into what you will hopefully find as a very fun card. So, a couple of quickie announcements. Stampin' Up! Has 15% off in color products. That's the current in color, the 2025 to 2027 in color products. Cardstock, ink, alcohol blends, I think probably the markers, embellishments, ribbons, kits, scrapbooking kits, even designer series paper that's not in color paper, but if it has an in color in it, some of those are even on sale. So lots to shop for that's on sale. And just during August, because this sale is from, I think it started August 5th, but it ends on August 31st, I ordered several of these classic stamp pads in cloud cover. This is a color that is not available to the customers because there was a quality control issue that Stampin' Up! Wasn't happy with. So they only released this to demonstrators, and it's an as is, you can't return it kind of sale. The color shifted and it may or may not match to what the intended color was. So my color has been fine. I've been very happy with it. So the first 5 people that have or do enter orders with me during August will receive a free ink pad from me. You can't buy it, but I can give it to you. So $35 purchase is the minimum requirement to be eligible to get a free stamp pad, ink pad from me. One other announcement is if you are local to me, August 20th, starting at 10 a.m. until about noon-ish. We can go a little bit later than that as long as I can get cleaned up. We're doing a coffee and a cardigan in Waterford here in Wisconsin. So if you're local to me, let me know if you're coming. There's a QR code there if you want, or just shoot me a message, just so I know I've got enough stuff for everybody. So let's start making a card. I have been having fun with this Stay Warm stamp set. Now, last night I showed how to manage these stamps. Now, you actually only have 7 stamps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. But these are done so that the design or the shape on it, if you invert it or flip it over, it will match the shape of the outlined art. Okay. So these are called reversibles. All right, so these are some of the ones we've done over the last couple of nights. This is just done on white cardstock. White cardstock, I got a little heavy on the ink there. And then I did a couple on designer series paper. And I thought it kind of looked like, you know, ugly sweater, ugly Christmas sweater stuff. This one looked pretty cool though. I used the woven textures paper for this one. This is from one of the floral papers, Florals in Bloom or something. And then I did another one with the woven textures, but today I was playing with it and I used some baker's twine to stitch some highlights on there, and I thought that was really cool. A couple of months ago, there was a pear stamp set that was retiring, and I had done some highlight stitching on that one for some of my layers just to give it an accent. And I thought, you know, that would be kind of fun on here because the design is already kind of there for you to put those stitches on there. So we're going to play with that tonight. But we're also going to kind of meld this design here using the party alphabet dies, where we'll cut it out and we'll have a layer of DSP under those letters. So I cut out from my sample card, but I think I'm going to kind of hold that for just a few minutes. We'll cover that up a little bit. We'll hold that for just a few minutes and we'll get started. So I am using, let me move this out of the way for just a moment. And that's we're going to do some blending too. I have a piece of Secret Sea, and it's 4 1/4 by 11. I've scored it at 5.5. So if I take my 8.5 by 11, I'm going to score it at 5.5 first, and then I'm going to turn it and cut it my 4 1/4 because then I'm going to have a landscaped card. I typically do not do my cards like a tent, like a pup tent fold, because they tend to go flat. So if you do them like this, and when they're on display for a while, they go flat. And I'm not a fan of that. I like the cards to sit up because if people receive them and they want to set them up, they don't want them going flat, right? So there's my base. I'm also then going to use the 24 to 26 in colors because I liked this bright color and this retiring, it's on the last chance list, this country lace. Now this was 12 by 12 paper that I cut down because then you're more likely to use it. So I'm using one of the pieces of that, and I liked the back because it looks denim-ish to me, so that's what we're going to use for our sweater and the hat. This was kind of the clue that that's what we're using. So let's get those things out of the way. I'm going to get this out of the way for right now. And I am using the Textured Notes dies. And we are going to just cut a couple of things. So I'm going to cut our denim piece, and I'm going to cut, yes, kind of forgot where I was going. I'm going to cut the denim piece, and I'm going to cut a piece of pumpkin pie cardstock because that coordinates with this. And this is going to be our backing piece from when we die cut those letters out. So let me get my Bossy Bessie out because this piece of cardstock is a little too big for my little one. So I guess this is Bossy Betty and my little one is my Betsy. All right, so let's go ahead and die cut this. And when you do your die cut, obviously we need the plate, the number 1 plate. We need the number 2 shim, and then we need our 2 cutting plates that are number 3. Okay. But when you have a square or a rectangle or any die that has a corner, don't lead it through your machine on the straight edge because it makes those rollers work harder. Always lead with a corner and you'll find it goes through much easier. All right. So we'll just run this through. And you're not going to see a whole lot of design because of the texture of the image, the artwork on here. But I do think having the die border, it makes it look just a little more polished. And then this one, I think I'm going to start here, and we're just going to kind of take a look for a second. So let's put this one through. And again, I'm going to lead with a corner. So it goes through pretty easy. You can see how nice and smoothly that runs. If I ran it with the straight edge, it kind of goes clunkety clunk through there while the rollers adjust. All right. So this will fill up our whole card front. All right. Now, the other thing we could do, and I'm going to pull out my sample now so you can kind of see what we're shooting for. This one, I did just a small, I did these 2 layers with the same, hello Mama Juju, welcome. I did these 2 layers the same size with the same die around there. And I think I like this one better, but I wanted to see how it looked with a little more border on there. I just don't know that I'm happy with that bigger border. So we're gonna leave it on here for right now. And once we get things laid out, we'll see what it looks like for us. All right. So let me get this. Oh, we can do our letters. We can do our hi out of this one. So I have the letters from those party alphabet dies, and these are the really big ones. There's just the letters are, you can see there's almost as big as my finger. And there are 36 of them. So there's some punctuation things and special characters. So that's pretty cool. So I have my letters here. Yes, you beat Fifi tonight. And, you know, I started a little late. So Fifi might have given up on me. I don't know. All right. So I had these on a magnet. So they're kind of attracted to each other. All right. So let's go ahead and just kind of put that through there. I just want it to look kind of casual. So I'm having these kind of canted on purpose, because that way if they're a little crooked, not quite straight, it doesn't really matter because I intended them to be, so I don't have to worry about them being perfect. So my suggestion is, when you have your letters cut out, this one probably won't pop out for me because it's pretty small. When you have your letters come out, save them, because you can make another card with those letters. Okay? Just a suggestion. I mean, you can get rid of them if you want, but why? Keep knocking my blocks over. Why get rid of them when you can use them for something else? All right, so I'm just going to stack these up over here. Now I can get this out of the way, I think. And here's what we're making tonight, Mama Juju. So let's go ahead and stamp our sweater and our hat. And I'm going to use Secret C for those. And this is just a smaller piece because we're going to fussy cut those. And I'm going to do it this way because then I know I'm going to have enough room for the hat. All right. Because the hat I can go like this. All right, and I know I have enough. And I'm going to leave that ink out because actually I am going to do, let me set that up there. Hopefully it won't fall down anymore. We're going to do a little blending on here. I don't know if you can tell on here, but these ribbing sections on the sweater are a little muted because I did some blending before I fussy cut because I just thought it looked nicer than plain. And who doesn't like a nice comfy sweater and some jeans when it starts getting colder? So it was actually pretty comfortably warm by us today. I think it was just in the mid 80s and not nearly as humid as it has been, so that was nice. Mama Juju, how's the weather by you? Let me get that out of the way and let's do some fussy cutting. try not to overthink this too much. If you've been with me the last couple of nights, you know I'm not a fussy cutting fan. I would love to have a die for these, but there isn't one. So it's hot by you. Is it humid as well? Now, are you in Mississippi? I don't remember where you are. I'm sorry. I have a bad memory. Sometimes it's good. Like, where did I put that recipe that I wanted? I can remember those. It could be Alabama. Mississippi or Alabama? I was thinking it was south. So it's probably usually pretty warm by you. I'm just cutting down my border a little bit here. I like to leave a little bit of a border just so that if I crank it in a little close, it doesn't make it look like my image is bad, because sometimes that can happen. Mississippi, okay. Or is that Missouri? No, Missouri is MO. I have to think of some of my abbreviations. And then there's Michigan and Minnesota, which is MN. A lot of M states. Yep, MISSISSSI PPI. Learned that one in elementary school. We used to go around singing that one. That was like, there was some tune that went with that. All right, so that wasn't too bad, fussy cutting. But now, some more little fun comes in, because I'm going to bring in my piercing mat again. And I am bringing in the Baker's Twine Essential Pack. And I'm going to take off maybe about 15 inches of that, and we're going to do a little bit of sewing. You wouldn't have to, so if you're not a fan of that, welcome. Scrappered 123. We'll call you Debbie, right? Deb? So for here, I am just going to use my Take Your Pick tool. And actually, if I go across here, I think it's a little more efficient. I'm just poking some holes so my needle will have an easier time going through. And I'm using kind of a yarn needle or a darning needle. It fits the Baker's Twine really well. And then we are going to do a little cross stitch design. So when I put my needle through, and when I pull my Baker's Twine through the back, it doesn't have to be super long, and I'm not going to put a knot in there. I am going to use just some tear and tape, and we're going to hold that down. And I'm not going to worry about peeling off the tear and tape, because if I put, like here I have dimensionals, kind of like shoulder pads, only different. I don't have to worry about that. I can take the backing off if I want to, but it's not necessary. So now we're just going to start following the lines. Hopefully you can see the lines on here. And we're doing a cross stitch kind of design. And you don't want to pull it too snug, because your paper will ripple. And so here you can see this one, I stitched it all of my diagonals one way and then I went back and did it the other way. This one I did more of how I used to cross stitch. I used to cross stitch quite a bit, where I did the X's as I went. So that's what I'm going to do here. And it seemed like, it might be my imagination, but it seemed like it went a little bit faster. And like I was saying, you wouldn't have to do this, but I just think it's a really cute kind of embellishment for the sweater. And it makes it look a little more warm and cozy, I guess. And then I'll show you what the back of this looks like too. Hopefully this one will be as neat as my first one was. Well, my first blue one. I thought it would be kind of fun to put a pom-pom on the hat too with the baker's twine. And I could still do that after the fact, but it's not going to happen for this session, I don't think. So when I'm doing my stitching too, from the back, I'm going sideways or laterally because it's a shorter distance than going vertically. Hopefully that made sense. So you don't need a ton of baker's twine. And if you've got some twine that's a little thicker, just take some of the layers out, you know, some of the extra threads to make it a little more workable. So 15 inches of my twine was plenty. Because I'll have enough left over. I think last time I used about 13 and it was a little tight, so I thought, we'll just make it long enough so that it's easy to work with. And then just be careful on these edges because you don't want to pop through the side of your image. And then we're done. Isn't that fun? I think that is just adorable. We'll push that little piece in. I think it's adorable. So then what we can do is just cut this off. And again, it can be short. It doesn't have to be long. And I'll put my needle away. I have a magnet at the side of my crafting table, so I put my pins to unstick my glue bottles. And I put my needle there. So look at that. Isn't that cute? I just saw that and thought it was just so fun. All right, so now I think we're done with the piercing mat. And we're done blending, so I'll get rid of that. So let's go to this part. So we could give it a beachy vibe, but I didn't think that would work with the sweater. So we're doing just this, I don't know, galaxy kind of print. And we don't even have to put it on the whole back of the layer. So that'll keep some of the weight off of it for mailing. So we can just go like this. All right. So I'm going to put just a little glue. We'll start putting this together. And I usually do better if I have it in my hand. And I'm just putting glue kind of around the edge of here. I don't want to go too far in because I don't want it to go past the letters. And then here, I'm just going to put it like in the center parts. All right, so it'll hold. And then all we need to do is really lay this down. And make sure none of it's hanging over the edge of the paper. All right, so there's that. Pretty quick and easy. All right, now, again, let's lay this out and see what we think. Now we could make this a little canted to make it a little more casual. And we could put the hat back here. So what do you think? Little layer with the pumpkin pie, or the peach pie rather, or big layer with the peach pie. I'm looking for suggestions. We can do it straight, or we could do it canted, and then have that layer kind of straight, and that kind of goes with the whole mishmash of the letters there. And I'm going to have the sweater going this way because I want it to go toward the letter. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of dimensionals here while anybody wants to contemplate a response. And I'm just using little ones up at the shoulders. And then I'll end up putting just a little bit of glue. I don't need glue on the bottom of there at all. I'll put some glue on the bottom of the hat though. So we'll use a big dimensional on the pom-pom. We'll put a little bit of glue here. Nobody has some suggestions? I'm going to go with oh, what am I going to do? I think we'll stick with this bigger layer. And what I could do is I could cut that right out of there. I could piece that layer inside. Now we'll just go with that, and I'll get another piece of peach pie because I want layers for the inside. Like here, I want layers for the inside. All right, so let me get another scrap of peach pie. And we'll cut that out quick for the inside. I already have the white layer for the inside. Yeah, so Mississippi is the same as we're Central Time. I was done with this, but one more cut. And where are you at, Deb? Ohio. Okay. So are you on Eastern time or Central in Ohio? I'd have to look at a map. All right, let's go back here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue down my peach pie layer. And again, I like having that textured notes border on there because it just, I think it makes it look a little nicer. It just makes it look a little more finished to me. Central, you think? So is it a little after midnight by you? Because if it's a little after midnight, then you're Central with the rest of us here. If it's 1 in the morning, or a little after 1 in the morning, then you're Eastern time. Without looking at a map, it seems like there's a couple of states there that part of the state is in one time zone and part of the state is in another. All right, so that'll go there. And then this will be for the inside. And I'm just going to use, so it's after 1 o'clock, so you're Eastern time then. Because Eastern is an hour ahead of me, and I'm just at 12:10 right now. All right, so I'm going to put this one here. And then we'll put this one on the other side. I know a lot of people struggle with this seal. I don't know what you ladies use with your junk journaling. But this seal is actually quite nice. You just have to use a light touch. All right, so that's good there. And then we just need to put our sweater on. Oh, I was going to show you the back. See how the back, how I was stitching it going from side to side and then doing the X's up? It's, if you're a cross stitcher, it works both ways. So you can either do all of your diagonals in one direction and then go back, or you can do all of the X's as you work your way across. So again, I want my sweater to go toward the H, and then my glue is still a little tacky. So we'll see where we want to put this, the hat. So the hat on my other one I put at the bottom, but I think this one I want to put it so it kind of looks like it's on the H for high. All right, isn't that kind of fun? And I'm not putting another sentiment on here because I have the high. So, you know, what's the point in putting more words on there? I can put words on the inside if I want. So as far as embellishments, I found some embellishments that I had that actually look like snowballs, but they were retired. So I'm pulling out these, whoops, I just lost one. I'm pulling out these strawberry slush and pretty in pink gems. And these have, this one does not want to cooperate here. It might just find itself in the garbage. These have like almost like tinsel inside them. I don't know if you can see that. You can probably see the glimmer when I angle it. But that's tinsel inside the gem itself. And I lost the cap to my pointy end. Here it is. All right, so let's put, I'm going to do a bigger one here. And I'm using the clear ones. They have gold in them, but they're not the strawberry slush. This is strawberry slush and this is pretty in pink. And then we've just got the clear with the gold. And I think I'll put another big one over here and a smaller one here. And maybe we could do more. These are kind of fun. So since I have 4, I'm going to do 5. Yeah, there. There we go. And that's my card. Hello, Dana. Welcome. I bet you thought I wasn't coming on. I came on a little late. And we just finished my one card. But I want to show you, I don't know, none of you were here last night. I think everybody went to bed last night. So this is the card from tonight. I decided, this was the one that I mocked up. And I decided I want a little bit more color there because this was pretty dark. All right. So I used some blending brushes here before we fussy cut it. And then I just used some baker's twine and did some cross stitching on the top. So that's tonight's card. And here are some of the other sweaters. This is the one I was playing with earlier today. But these are some of the other sweaters that I did the last couple of nights. So these are on basic white. And then these I did on designer series paper. And this one was done on designer series paper also from the Country Lace. designer series paper, and this paper is on clearance. It's on the last chance list, so if you like this paper, you probably want to go get it. So there's the denim in here. There's some like gray striped denim, some floral things. This was the paper that coordinated with the country birdhouse or something. I really liked this one too, and I thought that would make a cute sweater also. But this is some fun paper. So I cut that down to fit in a little storage box here. And then last night I did these 2 cards. And this is, what set is this? This is the Layered Thoughts stamp set. And then the first night I did these 2. These are basically cased out of the online store. And I mean, they're a little bit different. But this set, this stamp set, the Stay Warm, is new. It's coming out in September. So if you do Stampin' Up! Stuff, if you're not a demonstrator, you can't get it until September 3rd. If you're a demonstrator, if you join with me, you can get this now. And then I use the last year's in color stuff that's good through next year. And the party alphabet dies. So that's what we did for tonight. A little bit of blending, a little bit of sewing, a little bit of die cutting, and that's it. So what's the vote here? More Secrecy or more peach pie? What do you think? Any preference? I do some scrapbooking. If you want me to, I can pull out some of, I don't have any current, well, I do have, if you go to my Facebook page, my Lori's Little Bit of Crafting, we had a virtual album retreat recently, and we did a month-by-month kit. And I'm just thinking scrapbooking can take a lot of time, and I don't know if people would have the stamina to do several pages. But I have thought about doing, you know, telling people ahead of time, okay, well, this is going to be, you know, scrapbook Saturday or whatever. Do you want me to go get some of my layouts, some of my 2-page spreads? I have them pretty close. Oh, you're doing a scrapbooking retreat tomorrow? Oh, that'll be fun. Is that with kits? Or do you have to do your own stuff? Because I can tell you, Stampin' Up! Has some really cute kits. I'm trying to pull out some of my stuff here. So are you going to be doing kits or your own scrapbooking? You'll do your own. You used to make kits to sell. Oh, that's cool. So if you remember, I don't know if you're familiar with Stampin' Up, but this was a Queen Bee set. I'm not sure if both of these will show. I have to wait for my iPad to catch up. But this was some of the first scrapbooking I did, and this I think was like 3 years ago. So they're not both showing very well. So this is page 1. And I thought I would put pictures of my granddaughter on here. And this is the second page to that layout. Again, it's kind of designed to have my granddaughter's pictures in here. And I wanted it to look kind of retro. I really liked this bee. I thought it was just gorgeous. All right, so that's that one. And then, oh, I thought I had 3 in here. There's only 2 in here right now. Here's another one I did. I'm trying to think of what this stamp set was called. But it wasn't, neither of these were kits. These were just things that I used the stamp sets for. So, boy, I wish I could remember. I'm sure I still have this set. But there's the first page, and again, this was designed to have pictures of my granddaughter on there. And then that's page 2 of the spread. I had a lot of fun doing these. I didn't realize that, you know, scrapbooking could use dimensionals and embellishments and, you know, stamping in there. I figured it was just pictures plastered on there because growing up, that's really all I saw was all of the old pictures, you know, 4 or 6 to a page, and you just went through them. So this is more memory keeping, obviously, than just a photo album. All right. Now, Stampin' Up! Does have some great scrapbooking kits. And like this one. This is Snow Days. This is on clearance right now. And this is 3 2-page spreads. Everything you need is in here, except, you know, your cutter and that sort of thing. But all of the pieces are in here. And there's a lot. There's a lot in here. I think this is like $12.50 or something. It's reduced. I think this is the one that's reduced. I'm having a class on this one coming up. I haven't advertised it yet because it's snow time. But all of these instructions, they show you what paper you're using, what side of the paper you're using. They tell you where to make your first cut and how big to make the cuts. And then it also tells you if it's for layout 1, layout 2, or layout 3, so that you can get all of your cutting done at once. And then it just goes through all of the cutting and then kind of the measurements. It'll tell you how far in from the pages, and this is what their design will look like. And it takes you through all 3 of the 2-page spreads. So that's pretty cool. Oh, so you're familiar with these, Close to My Heart. Do you do any Stampin' Up! Now? I know a lot of the Close to My Heart makers came over to Stampin' Up! Last year. So anyway, I'll keep going through this while I wait for your answer to populate. My iPad is kind of slow. You haven't in a long time. Well, if you're thinking about coming back to crafting, there's a lot of Close to My Heart stuff in here. And Karen Pedersen from Close to My Heart is now kind of the scrapbooking guru for Stampin' Up! So she does a lot of guidance for us, I guess, with the scrapbooking stuff. But look at this paper. Isn't this gorgeous? I love this paper. And I did this kit, and I did all the layouts, and then I bought more because it was on sale. So I'm going to have a class for that. But Dana, if you think you want to come back into the fold, you let me know. So this is just one-sided. So when they're white on the opposite side, that's just one-sided as well. But then these are all stickers. Hello, Tanya. Welcome. We're just going through some scrapbooking kit here. The card for tonight is finished, but you can catch that on the replay. But as I was saying with these scrapbooking kits, this whole page is all stickers. All right. And then you've got, of course, the 12 by 12s that you need for the spreads. So there's some, I think they're calling this winter white, I think. And then you get the photo placeholders. So you can set them, you know, if you don't have your photos planned ahead of time. And then the two-tone cardstock. Did Close to My Heart, Dana, have two-tone cardstock, or is that something that Stampin' Up! Just got? I know Stampin' Up! Acquired some of the product line. So this is two-tone cardstock. Stampin' Up! Has it in all of our colors. So we've got 40 of our core colors. We have, and that's 4 different color families, so there's 10 of each. And then, yeah, I'm really liking the two-tone cardstock. And then we have it in the in colors as well. So this, that's all the paper then for that. But the other thing, the instructions, and Dana, you're probably familiar with this then because this is probably something that Close to My Heart featured, is they tell you for project 1 what size and orientation for your pictures and how many you need. So project 1 for this one, the way they have it laid out. Now, I personally would probably be changing my layout a little bit to put more pictures on there. Just because, you know, you could easily put 2 or 3 more pictures down there to fit with the theme. But anyway, project 1 is saying 1 3x3. So that would be that one. You need 2 3x4s in portrait. So that would be these. And then a 4x4, which would be this one. And then you've got a journaling section. All right. For project 2, it's saying a 3x4 in landscape mode. So that would be this landscaped one here, a 4x4, which is over here, and then 2 4x6s in portrait. So that would be those. And then for project 3, they've got 3 of the 3x4s. So 1, 2, 3 of the 3x4s and 2 of the 4x6s. So everything is laid out. So it works for beginners, and then, you know, the instructions will tell you if there's a special technique, like the month by month virtual album retreat that we did. There were just a ton of techniques, like opening up your memory pages so that you could have flip flaps in there, and just a lot of cool things, explosion boxes and that sort of thing. So, you know, blending on your pages, ink blending. So these kits, I think, are a great value because you get so much in there. Let me put my placeholder back in there. I don't know what I did with all my other ones here. I don't want it. There we go. So I just think they're a really good value. And the virtual album retreat, that had 2 huge stamp sets, page protectors, all the things that we needed that were pre-cut for 12 months worth of 2-page spreads. So, yeah, and there were, oh golly, embellishments, and we needed our own adhesives, but yeah, anyway, I'm having a class on this one. This will be a face-to-face class probably, but if I schedule like a Saturday or something and do it online, people could always catch, you know, the replay on that if they can't do it online, because it's going to take more than, you know, 30 to 60 minutes to do that. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And if you ever want to join back up and even be a kidnapper, there's usually a good deal with Stampin' Up! Where, like right now, if you can have $125 worth of product that you pick. It's not a kit that's pre-planned for you. It's stuff that you pick. It's $99. You get a paper pumpkin kit. You get free shipping. And then you start getting a discount too. So you can stay for just the kit. You can stay for your discount, you know, into however long you want to be a demonstrator or a hobby demo or whatever. If you've got questions on that, let me know. So, anybody else have any questions, suggestions, interests, what you want me to do? If there's another project you want me to do. Oh, and these journaling pens too. I don't know if Close to My Heart, I imagine Close to My Heart had these because they did a lot of scrapbooking stuff. I'm not sure if there was other thing. Yeah, there was stamp sets and stuff. I never followed Close to My Heart much, but these journaling pens are awesome. So I include one of those with my classes. So that's what I have for you tonight. Thank you all for popping in. I really appreciate the chit chat that goes on here. Sorry you missed the card, Tanya, but this is what we made tonight. These are what I made the last couple of nights. Tonight we added some sewing with baker's twine. So thanks for popping in. Until next time, which should be tomorrow. I'm actually, we're taking some family down to Chicago. We're taking a train ride because my sister-in-law's granddaughters have to go home. They've been up visiting, and they want to take the train. So we're all going down together so that everybody's safe. So don't want little girls on the train and be targets. You know, we're safety minded. We have a lot of emergency services people in our family, so that's how we think. But anyway, thanks again for popping in, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Happy crafting.